Guardians avoided the sweep of the Diamondbacks because Gavin Williams continues to be on a historic run, but now all the attention shifts to the trade deadline, where the Guardians will hope not to be caught off guard in the middle like the Guardians bullpen running in from the bullpen during Sunday's kerfuffle while the grounds crew was trying to tarp the field.
Tanner Bobby of the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I can honestly say I've never seen an on-field benches clearing argument, because it wasn't a brawl, during a tarp pull for a rain delay. I've never seen that before. So when they say that if you go to a baseball game, you might see something you've never seen before, that's one of those boxes you can check. But every time you go to the ballpark right now, Gavin Williams is on a historic run. He's joined a class of pitchers that are doing things that have not been done in a long time, or at least by Hall of Famers. So that's a lot of fun. On today's Locked On Guardians, we'll talk about the developing trade market, see what the Guardians are, what other moves are going on in Major League Baseball. As the trade deadline will come to a close on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll get into adding Craig Yoho to the bullpen and his debut on Sunday and what else the Guardians might do. We'll talk briefly about some unwritten rules and the kerfuffle between the Guardians and Diamondbacks. But we start today's show talking about the Guardians avoiding the sweep, showing some fight Saturday night offensively, a good offensive day Sunday, and Gavin Williams continuing to be on a historic heater on Locked On Guardians, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Today, join all the action at FanDuel.com. Play daily dingers. Make your free pick on who's hitting a home run this season on MLB with FanDuel. Jeff Ellis over there. I'm Justin Lada, host of the show for 8 years and 4 years, and covering the Guardians minor league system in the draft for 19. And we are the only daily podcast on the Guardians, covering the Guardians every single day from the majors and minors, the draft, everything in between. We're here for all of it. We're here for the good, the bad, the misery, the trade deadline, the frustrating offense, the fun pitching. And boy, Gavin Williams, fifth consecutive game with 10 strikeouts or more with one or fewer walks. Only Clayton Kershaw and Chris Sale have done that in MLB history. So he continues to be on a historic run. Those are two Hall of Famers that are going to make it. So Gavin Williams is on a Hall of Fame level streak. I'm not going to say he's a Hall of Fame level pitcher. I don't even know if I could say he's a Cy Young level pitcher, but he's certainly, based on the stretch, is pitching at that level, which is good. I just wish the Guardians would give him some help. They did.
Yeah.
They did, but I just wish that wasn't only their second win in the last 5 starts with Gavin Williams.
No, I agree totally. He's had his ups and downs, and we have been, we've been kind of down on him at points, and but you got to give him his flowers. Like, he was fantastic again. He got enough support in this one overall, and it just became a very clear thing in this one. Like, I mean, he was dealing, was it five perfect innings, right? 15 straight, yep. Like until that, and then. I'm of multiple minds on the whole bunt thing. It's still close enough score. You're trying to win, but yeah. I also like how fired up they got in that situation. I can understand anyone's take. I got to be honest. I can understand if you're upset. I can understand if you think it's overblown. Anyone who gets really upset that they got mad, that's the only thing I'm not going to be able to defend. But Gavin was fantastic, and it's like we've been dealing with a rough second half. Since the All-Star break. This team has kind of fallen apart. And a big reason for that is because Angel Martinez plays every day and hasn't been able to find water falling out of a boat. And Jose has really struggled. So for a team that's already struggling offensively, you added 2 guys who had been incredibly important to this team, but struggled. So then you're making the bad lineup worse. And that has made us all really frustrated, right? Like, all these really low scoring games, all these games they should have won. Hunter Gaddis struggling at the worst possible time, and it just makes all those frustrations boil up. But bottom line, what I'm circling back to here, in a very weird pattern, is the fact that it's that pitching staff. Look how what Tanner did against this Arizona team is good. Like, this is a potential playoff team, strong offense, a lot of great hitters. Look what Tanner did. Look what Gavin did. And, if Rhys Hoskins doesn't make maybe the worst play I've seen all year, where he goes too far to one side and then decides to randomly just throw the ball and hope it goes Ooh, that was. I mean, I texted you. I go, a little leaguer knows better than to do what he did there. So Messick.
But he hit a 2-run homer, Jeff.
And then he gave up two.
He's tied for the team leading home runs with Manzardo, which is bonkers,
but if he
by the way. Those are the two hitters everybody has the most ire for. And I'm not saying they're good, but it's just ironic that we want both those guys replaced, and they're tied for the team leading home runs, which probably says more about the Guardians as a team than it does those players. But yeah.
I've always been kind of okay with Manzardo because the highs have been high and the lows have been low, but at least you're getting some good performances. With Hoskins, it's like, who cares if he had a 2-run home run, because he gave up 2 runs as well with that boneheaded play,
so
which
came out as a 0.
Well, no, it's worse because then that also chased Parker out of the game, and Parker didn't even go 5.
Yeah.
Like, it ended up being he was a net negative on that game. So it's like your 3 guys there. Cantillo was an okay 4. Slade, remember that month where he looked really good? I miss those days. But like, this starting pitching is, I got really off track, but like, that's why I still believe in this team. It's seeing the performances. It's seeing, Gavin, Parker, and Tanner. And this is probably the best 1, 2, 3 we've had since Kluber and Carrasco and those guys were here. Like, even when you had like Shane Bieber here with Clevenger, that was close, but I don't know if I really liked our number 3 in those situations as much as, I'm going to like it, probably, like, I think we know lefties are harder to hit. So I don't know if they'll go to Parker in game 1 or not, but it's like, it's going to be interesting. They've got a fun debate with that. And that's why I still believe in this team. We'll maybe get to it later in the show. If not, we'll hit tomorrow because, there's no games tomorrow. We'll just have hopefully some more trades to talk about, but there are guys doing better than you think in the lineup tomorrow. And, we can discuss some of that as well. Saw some guys doing worse than you think.
DeLauder's been great since he came off the IL, and he's been having a good second half. And he kind of carried the offense in this one. I know Bazana had a nice hit today too, and obviously Patrick Bailey, solid, another home run. He just continues to be a very solid hitter. Like, he's not special, but he's
110 WRC plus in July. 110.
Yeah, him and Hedges. He and Hedges have at least raised the floor for the offensive mark and catcher for this team, which is something they haven't had in quite a while. Outside of the 2 Septembers that Bo Naylor was really good, which we'll talk about in a little bit with that trade, but. Yeah, you're right. The pitching staff has been really good. I mean, Parker pitched fine. He wasn't his best because he started off kind of shaky, but he settled in after that. And then, Rhys Hoskins kind of screwed him a little bit. And then Tanner was great, deserved to win that game. The offense gave him absolutely nothing, and the bullpen gave him even less. And then, Gavin was dominant. Like, you're right. This is a 1, 2, 3. You're going to roll out in the playoffs if you can get to the playoffs, that has a chance to win a series and see what happens. At least it'll give you a chance to win in the playoffs. And the offense on Friday did nothing, and then they did nothing for Saturday, and then the bullpen came in and just absolutely melted down. Franco Aleman was a mess. Hunter Gaddis was a mess, and Gaddis kind of recovered on Sunday. He only got 1 out, but it was dicey there for a second. The rest of the bullpen was great.
Dion and Heron also a mess on Saturday, just to complete.
Yes. No, everybody but Holderman Saturday was awful for the bullpen.
Holderman was fantastic. It's exactly...
Yes.
He probably should have come in on Friday.
They need to add another reliever besides Yoho. We'll talk about Yoho in a minute, but they still need to add another reliever. Anybody who's saying they don't need to add a reliever to this team is not paying attention. They need to add hitters too, but relief is definitely a help here, especially if you have starters like Cantillo or Ciccone, who you're going to need the rest of the year and possibly in the playoffs at some point. Maybe Ciccone goes to the bullpen for them, but the offense fought back on Saturday. They came in late. Now, let's be fair. Paul Sewald has been terrible lately. He lost the closer's job for the Diamondbacks. He came in and looked like a sleeper agent. And I think Diamondbacks fans all knew it was about to get close again. To their credit, they hit him. They're supposed to hit that guy because he's struggling right now. So thank God they did. I thought it was funny, though, on Sunday, Jeff, that Merrill Kelly, who's having a great year in terms of his changeup, nobody is hitting his changeup across baseball. And of course, the Guardians, they don't hit changeups ever. And they went out and they put up 5 runs in the Diamondbacks, which is shocking, mostly because of Patrick Bailey and Chase DeLauder. But they did enough against the guy that I thought for sure they're going to struggle against. So, and again, they also showed a little bit of edge with that whole kerfuffle, which we could talk about again in a second before we move on to the trades and maybe possible trades. But I guess there's signs of life. I don't know. I feel like every time we keep saying there's signs of life, they don't keep it up. But I guess I'm trying to be hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, I am. Like I said, between the rotation, Quan has been hitting 400 in July. Hedges has been great. DeLauder has been great. Hoskins, like I said, above average. Travis Bazana, just about average, but he also has the best WRC plus with runners on base. Like, it's still an improved lineup, even with Jose and Manzardo's struggles. Like, I know people hate hearing that, but here's the thing. It needs to get better. Don't get me wrong, but it's still improved.
Jose needs to be Jose at some point, and Manzardo needs to be better for sure. And Quan has figured it out. It seems like he continues. Quan had a great day today. He got on base, 3 times in this one, I think. He had 2 hits and a walk or something. 1 hit and 2 walks. Sorry. But still, he continues to raise his game back up to where it was before. But yeah, Jose's got to be better. Angel, I don't know what's going to happen there. But they need a couple of their core guys to be consistent. Hopefully they can get some help behind them with some trades, which we'll talk about in a second, as well as unwritten rules, Craig Yoho, and the rest of the trade market all coming up on the rest of this episode. A big thank you to our friends over at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, you want to spend less on your kids with Amazon because the back-to-school shopping experience, it is crazy, right? You get a few items that are sent on your list, and you're looking for supplies, and you got clothes, which are a big thing every year, and lunch gear, and tech, and then 10 things you didn't see coming, and all of a sudden you have a list that you're just not sure how you're going to manage, right? And that applies to teachers, it applies to parents, because each classroom needs a lot of supplies to get through the year. I know teachers spend a lot of money on classroom supplies to help their kids get through the year, as well as themselves and the entire school, really. And parents, it's a tough job too, to buy stuff, whether it's projects, stuff for first day of school, all that kind of stuff. So everybody can help each other out, spend a little bit less, and give what you need for the school year in the class. Remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, you can spend less on your kids because every dollar you haven't spent on them is a dollar. Every dollar you don't spend on the dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon. Spend less on your kids. Thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today, every day, whatever it is that you get podcasts. Make sure you're checking out the Everyday Club. Why? Because that's getting you access to ad-free versions of the show on audio platforms. We're free everywhere you get audio, but you get the ad-free version on any of the platforms as well if you sign up for the Everyday Club. Plus, you get the private listener Discord, which includes a lot of Guardians fans, Locked On Guardians listeners, Jeff, myself, and a channel for every single team that we have a show for on the network. And you can see what their fans and their hosts are saying, too, about the trade deadline and everything else going on around baseball. So go to Locked On Guardians on supercast.com. Check the link in your show notes, 7-day free trial when you sign up. Okay, so, yeah, Gavin Williams, this rotation continues to be good. I'm hopeful that they'll add something offensively, and Jose will find his level at some point, or a better level than he's been. And same with Manzardo. They just need these guys to get hot at some point. And will they? I don't know. But they still need help regardless. Let's touch on this real quick. The players, I'm fine with the players, feeling how they want to feel because they're the guys in the dugout. They're the ones who have to play and they have to interact with each other. So that's fine. I personally will say in the 6th inning, a guy can bunt. If you don't have a hit yet, he can bunt. If it was like the 8th inning of a 5-0 game, even, if it's the 8th inning of a 1-0 game, you're down 1-0, like you're still close enough to be able to be in that game. You got to do something to get on base. Now, if 5-0 in the 8th inning and a guy's got a perfect game going, I'll say I think that's Bush League at that point. But 6th inning, I don't know. I kind of feel like you're still trying to get on base at that point and do something. So I can't, like I said, if the players want to be upset about it, it gives them a little bit of fight. I think it might be a little bit of eyewash, but I'm fine if something riles them up and gets them moving again. But to me, I don't think it was as big of a deal. I know the hard slides by Tim Tawa also kind of annoyed Rugi Odor, who looked like he was the most upset person on the field. So I don't know. It was interesting. But like you said, I guess good to see the team's got a pulse, right?
Yeah, and it was also kind of a ticky-tacky game. Like when Craig Yoho, I believe, was in there, and then like he hit Nolan Arenado because Nolan Arenado has medieval armor on his elbow. Like, I mean, have you seen the size of that thing? I think he could reach a whole nother state with it. And he's saying that Yoho should get a warning because there had been flares. Yeah. Like, give me a break. Like, he's got.
It was a changeup that hit him, by the way.
Yeah, and changeups we know are the worst thing to get hit by.
So that's usually what you throw at a guy when you unintentionally hit him as a changeup, obviously, right? Yeah.
Yes. So it was just like the ticky tackiness got a bit out of control. It was another moment where I texted you where I was annoyed. I'm like I was like, oh my, what is this manager doing? Like he's out there, but it's two teams that are both fighting for their playoff lives, and they went out. And today again, Arizona has some fun pieces. Tanner and Gavin just shut them down.
Yeah.
Completely
Parker was
shut
good
them
too
down.
until the defense let him out. He was okay.
He was like, so that, and that's I could have done this in 30 seconds. And that's why I really still believe in this team. But it's, the whole situation. I mean, especially against the way this Guardians bullpen's been, and after they attacked the bullpen for all the runs they put up yesterday, 5 runs isn't anything. So I agree with you. It's the bunch is whatever it is.
In the 6th inning, I just thought it was hilarious. It was a very funny picture to see the bullpen running in to be part of the scuffle, because bullpens are always the last to get in, and the grounds crew is out there trying to pull the tarp over them. So you just see the grounds crew's over here trying to tarp the field, and the bullpen's running in right on the field in their way. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to get interesting. I have no idea what's going on here. Like, all heck was breaking loose. So it's just a very funny scene. Like I said at the top of the show, like to see a benches clearing argument and the grounds crew trying to tarp the field at the same time. It's a new experience that you don't get to see every day in baseball, and that's what makes baseball a lot of fun. Okay, so the Craig Yoho trade, and that's what we're calling it because that's what it was for the Guardians, basically. I attacked that on Saturday in a solo bonus reaction episode. So if you had a chance to check that out, which I think most of you have, thanks for coming on the live if you did, and watching it after the fact. I went through all the stuff I went through on there. I've got a few more thoughts on it, but Jeff wasn't able to join me. So, once again, Craig Yoho comes to Cleveland with Blake Perkins, who goes to AAA, and then Bo Naylor and Cody Hoyer goes to Milwaukee for the Guardians' first trade. Hopefully they're doing more. We'll talk about that, but I wanted to get your thoughts, Jeff, on the trade in general, since you didn't have a chance to jump on me Saturday outside of a quick 60-second reaction.
You mean when I was caught in tornado country? It was a fun time.
As people, pictures were not pretty.
No. It was, so I'll apologize. The sound's a little bit off. I will apologize about lighting. Doing some travel, so I figured it's you'd let me know in the comments if I assume maybe I'm wrong in this. You'd prefer me be here badly lit than not at all. But so my basic thoughts, in a very basic way, is 1, Cody Hoyer wasn't going to help this team, and 2, Bo Naylor wasn't going to help this team. So they traded 2 non-essential pieces, 2 pieces that weren't there, and this is how I view the trade going down. Milwaukee calling about Naylor, Cleveland asking about Yoho, or the other way around. And then Milwaukee being like, we still need depth. And Cleveland saying, well, you can give fewer, but then we need another. And then Milwaukee being like, well, Cleveland saying we need another piece, 2 for 2. And then figuring out who on the 40-man made sense. So Yoho's the centerpiece. Perkins is the afterthought. Let me give my 10 seconds on Perkins. I reached out to my Milwaukee people. By accounts, both 2 great dudes. Very well loved by their teammates, very solid additions starting there. Perkins was one time a Gold Glove candidate in center field. His sprint speed would be the highest on the Guardians. I know he's got like a 100 something batting average, but the funny thing is his batting average is that low, but his on base percentage is only 10 points below Angel Martinez. So there is that. And for his career, everyone's didn't close a tab, Justin. Everyone's didn't close a tab. I've kept it open here. So just looking at his overall performance against lefties and righties, he's at a 95 with a 693 OPS versus righties and a 71 with a 600 OPS versus lefties. And the other really interesting thing when you dig into his data is at home, he has a 54 WRC plus. On the road, it's a 103. He's got a bad BABIP at home and a good one on the road. So, this is a guy, he brings speed, he brings defense. He's basically a right-handed bat. Could work as, I gotta be honest, I think I'd rather have Blake Perkins than David Fry right now. Like, if you want to have a guy in that role, I think this could be that and a general improvement.
So Perkins and Halpin, interesting.
Yeah. And then you could always do, at least if you don't do a better trade, you have to do a better trade.
Please tell me they will.
No, I'm going to stop. They have to, but it's but even let's say you just make one trade and you bring in someone and it's your DH because Hoskins is a waste there. Then you run Perkins and Halpin, get elite defense in center field, and you have that. But so Perkins hits righties, fast defense. But he's an afterthought. He's a depth guy. Craig Yoho, he's got a fantastic changeup, and I know we're going to run to break. When we come back from break, Justin might explain a little bit about who Pitching Bot is, but Pitching Bot, the guy who created Cameron Grove, is British. Cleveland hired him in February of 2023, and he really rated that changeup highly. That data is still out there, but he has a monster change. He's got a weird arm angle, which also helps for Cleveland. And he's a guy who throws that changeup more than 50% of the time. It's a really good pitch. The fastball is fine, but it tunnels well with the changeup. Like, it gives him some
sinker.
extra ability, sinker in there. And then he's got this weird sweeper that he barely throws, that blows the model up.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. And then we'll talk about what else is happening on the trade market. If the Guardian, what else the Guardians could do at this point, because we are well under 24 hours. I know when everyone's listening to this, it'll be like less than full day.
Bottom line, they traded 2 unessential pieces and got a reliever that I think helps them the rest of the way down.
Plus
the way through. Yes.
Yeah, plus the years to come, because
he's a rookie.
Control. Yeah, he's a rookie, which is crazy. So, yeah, we'll talk more about Craig Yoho, the trade market, what else the Guardians should do, and if we have time, we'll react to Tarek Skubal news, the White Sox. We might save that for Tuesday's episode, but we still have a lot to talk about. Locked On Guardians, brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, even think you know who's hitting a home run today. FanDuel's giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Very easy to play. You make your pick for who you think is going to hit a home run in their next game, and if you're right, you get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. And best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the rest of the Major League Baseball season. Daily Dingers, it's a fun way to stay engaged with every single game, every single day. Whether you're following your favorite team or keep an eye on matchups across the league, every game has somebody capable of going deep, and you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. And it's really easy. They give you a list of players each day who have an opportunity to hit a home run, and you could say yes on any of them or no, and you can also say no, these guys hit a home run, and you get the profit boost from that. Looking at the Guardians specifically, their over-under win total is 783.5 right now, and it's plus 102 on that, so the belief is still they're going to win over 83.5, so they're going to hit 84 wins. I think that's probably true. You're not going to make much off of that, but I think over 83 is pretty safe at this point. So you're ready to play your game. Join FanDuel on the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home or play ball. Swing defenses on FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Make sure you're keeping up with all things Guardians by subscribing to the channel on YouTube if you haven't already, and hitting the bell on YouTube so you get notifications for when videos go live, including reaction videos to trades like we both did on Saturday, or get notified of when the YouTube channel goes live for a reaction show to trades like Saturday, as well as reactions to games, hopefully trades that come on Monday, and all of our normal episodes. And if you auto download on all the audio platforms, you keep the show in your feed no matter what. So I did an impromptu show Saturday reacting to the trade. And if you don't have it selected in your feed to auto download, you might have missed it, because it wouldn't come up in your feed automatically. But if you do auto download, it will, so you won't miss those shows. All right. The other thing with Craig Yoho I think is interesting is, he has got an arm angle that the Guardians don't technically really have in their bullpen. I know Alaman is similar, but Alaman also is taller, and he also has funkier mechanics. He also has no clue where the ball is going. Sometimes he doesn't even know what pitch the catcher is calling, because he absolutely screwed Austin Hedges on Saturday with throwing a fastball when he called for a slider. So that's fun when he imploded on Saturday. But yeah, the one last thing I'll just say on Craig Yoho is that, so we've talked before, I think, about Stuff Plus models, and that's developed, I believe, by Saris as Stuff Plus. That's his version of the model. And basically 100 is league average, and anything below, just like, WRC Plus, below 100 is below average, and above 100 is above average. Whereas Pitching Bot does it on a 20/80 scouting scale, where 20 is like, the speed of Giancarlo Stanton, and 80 is the power of Aaron Judge. And there can be like odd numbers. Like I think Craig Yoho's changeup by Pitching Bot is a 66, which essentially means it is a plus pitch. It's almost double plus, because 70 is double plus. And the reason, and then Stuff Plus models have it at a 92 as below average. So that means Pitching Bot and Stuff Plus grade differently. So what Pitching Bot basically does is it takes the shape of a pitch, the velocity, the movement, the arm angle, and all that other stuff. And it says, how is this pitch expected to perform based on historical results of pitches with the same metrics? Whereas Stuff Plus just grades raw data, which is velo, movement, release, traits, all that kind of stuff. So Stuff Plus thinks that Yoho's changeup is too slow, which is why it's a bad grade. So metrically there, but Pitching Bot looks at all that data and says, okay, but similar changeups like this have performed really well in the past, so I'm going to grade it high. Same with the slider for both of them. He doesn't throw the slider a lot, but they both agreed the slider or sweeper is got potential. So maybe the Guardians unlock the sweeper slider a little bit more from Yoho, but they definitely traded for him for that great changeup. You saw it Sunday. He threw it against everybody, lefties and righties. He got an out, and then he hit Nolan Arenado with a changeup, and Nolan Arenado was trying to win a Tony Award with his performance when he got hit. So there's that. But yeah, so basically Craig Yoho, and then like Jeff said, the guy who created Pitching Bot got hired by the Guardians in 2023. I don't think we need to go any further on that trade, do we? Or anything else you want to jump into?
No, like I said, I think it's I'll say this. I see a lot of people upset because it wasn't the big deal, but bottom line, if your team
Craig Yoho helps right now.
If your team's better, it's a nice trade. And
yes,
they were going to do right by Bo Naylor no matter what, and they did right by Bo. And now they have a chance, and they improved their team, and hopefully now we'll see something else. I'm not going to sit here and say they're for sure going to do anything because I have no idea, and I'm also not going to sit here and say that's it, they're done, they're packed up shop, because I don't know. But it is a positive sign. It is a move in the right direction, and hopefully we'll have more stuff to talk about tomorrow where we're sitting here doing fist pumps.
Yeah, I hope so. I want to go back to May when they acquired Patrick Bailey, and I had said I don't think Bo Naylor would even go to Columbus. I thought that they would trade him before then. I thought he wouldn't have much value. I will say
I won that argument.
You did. No, you did.
It's the one time.
Craig Yoho definitely is more value for Bo Naylor than I thought was ever going to happen. And what's funny is Bo Naylor is going to go to AAA for the Brewers, and he's insurance. I read for Jefferson Caro, who continues to have injury issues for Milwaukee. They have Contreras, who's their starter, and then they have Gary Sanchez as the backup.
Two righties, and Sanchez is not good defensively, so they might try to flip Sanchez in a catcher needy market, is what I also saw.
Yeah, I've read Saturday that they're not interested in flipping Sanchez. I think for the Brewers, this is a move for next year. I think Naylor becomes their backup next year, and who knows? I mean, they have
devil magic
before. Yeah, so catchers they sure do. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, but. Yeah, the Guardians absolutely have to do something else for this offense. Like you said, they have to add. Again, I don't think they're locked into one position. Like, they can add any bat they want as long as it's not second base or third base, I suppose. But for the most part, they can kind of add whatever bat they want because they have the DH spot open if they dump Hoskins and Fry. Like, you have opportunities to add any position out there. Again, Heriberto Hernandez would be great. You didn't have to trade a single prospect for this trade to get Craig Yoho. There's nobody on your team that makes you any worse for losing the two guys you traded to Milwaukee. They have their full prospect thing. Again, I still wouldn't trade Angel Hernandez. We can talk about that in the future. I did a bunch of
I'm coming around to agreeing with you. You brought it up first. That's your baby, but the more time I spend on it, the more I believe you're right.
I think for sure.
I think you want to plan on him as the shortstop of next season. I got to be honest. We'll spend some time, maybe even tomorrow, depending on how things break with trades. So maybe we'll do a Rokio segment tomorrow. I know we talked about this a little bit off air. Do you want me to throw the name at you? That's kind of the guy, another Ellis favorite from the past that could be an interesting name to discuss that we have not mentioned.
Yeah, we should also mention too. Adrian Morejon is not going to be traded. The Padres reportedly turned down a trade, a big one for him. So. At this point, lefty wise, it's got to be the Mets guy. I keep
Brooks Raley.
Brooks Raley.
Brent Suter with the Angels is another guy I'm still pretty high on.
Still got to go out and get one more reliever, but
yes.
I still think they should get two bats. We'll see. They can get, you wanted two relievers, two bats, but yeah, I want Brooks Raley or Brent Suter, and I also want to see them get two bats, whether that's Luis Robert, whether that's I don't know. I don't think they're going to get Ty France, but yeah, figure something out because this rotation.
Alex Call, figure something out.
Other teams are interested in Alex Call, and I haven't seen the Guardians connecting them, but the Guardians are almost never connected to anybody. I want to point this out. Go ahead and do those names, but I want to point this out. The Brewers have been talking to the Guardians for months about Bo Naylor, according to Chris Antonetti. They called way back in May about Bo Naylor, and then they never found a deal that made them better until now because they're up against the deadline. Nobody heard a word about that possibility until Zach Meisel broke the trade Saturday morning. So that trade had no buzz, no smoke, nothing. It happened, and it was leaked by Zach, reported by Zach. So the fact that you're not hearing this guy, that guy connected to the Guardians doesn't mean they're not doing anything, because once again, there's never any buzz or smoke about the trades they make. I'm not saying that means they will do something, but I'm just saying the fact that you're not hearing anything doesn't mean things aren't going on, because these things do appear out of thin air because nothing leaks when it actually involves them. And when they do leak and that there isn't their name mentioned, chances are it's a smokescreen.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We almost never hear about a trade before it happens. I mean, me predicting that they would like Patrick Bailey is probably the best we've gotten in the past few years.
That was as close as it got, right?
You know,
all right, mention your names before we get out of here.
So this might be a long shot, I'll be honest, but Texas is falling apart, right? Like did they lose again today to lose 6 in a row? I wasn't checking. They were all of a sudden saying, even though they did that trade for Chase Silseth, that they might be sellers now, which is fine because they got lots of years of control on Silseth and gave up no value for him. So I think you have to at least talk to them about, you know, you look at where that team is and how they are built, about Jake Berger, which when I said a longtime favorite, anyone who knows that, like, I like Jake Berger when he was at Missouri State with, I'm blanking on the shortstop who was also there. And Jake Berger is essentially what you want Rhys Hoskins to be. You know, this year, the crazy thing with Jake Berger is, please tell me, okay, good, man, I didn't close my tabs day. This is such an odd day for me. So against lefties this year, he's got a 120 WRC plus. Against righties, he's got a 95. He's useful against both. You're like, oh, Texas is a great place to hit. He's an 85 in Texas, a 112 on the road. So that's not it. You look month by month. He was a 70 in March and April, a 149 in May, June, a 128, a 62 in July. He's been a little up and down. There's a little Kyle Manzardo to this, but he's not hitting quite the lows of Manzardo. He ended up with a 104 in the first half and a 74. That's still better than Hoskins, right? Like, and the reason this could get a little more gimpy of why I'm not sure this would happen is, you know, he's 30 years of age, which isn't that old, but he does have, this is his 4th year of control. So you'd get him for 27 and 28. And maybe that keeps Texas from trading him. But I also feel like, you know, trading a 30-year-old first baseman with some swing and miss, and, you know, just to keep the data going. Savant Page, red on hard hit, red on barrel, red on bat speed. He chases, he does the other things. He actually is graded well as a defensive first baseman too. I'll point that out. But it's a right-handed bat with some power. He's had 19 home runs this year, 718 OPS. Like, he's very kind of borderline, but that's borderline in the areas. The things he does are the things they need. So yeah, 718 isn't a mind-bending OPS, but he does what they need at positions that can help them, or in areas that help them that they lack.
Yeah, I'm not against that trade at all, depending on what you would get for him. But he's not perfect. Like, he's hasn't played against a ton of lefties, so we'll see what happens. He's under control for the rest of 6, I believe, all of 7, and actually all of 8. So
yeah,
it's kind of I don't know if I want to hitch my ride to Jake Berger for the next 2.5 years. So I'm not really sure I'm on board there. I guess everything depends on cost, but he's got power. He doesn't walk. You're basically trading, a little more on base for a little more power. If you dump Hoskins and add Berger, you're adding a little more power and dumping some on base, better defender. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure I want to hitch my wagon to him for the next.
Feels like you could use some of your pitching depth the way the Rangers have really struggled.
Yeah,
like that. Maybe you can talk about someone like Logan Allen there, or as part of a package. Relief wise, it's a very young pen.
We might have to. You mean for the Rangers? Yeah.
It's like maybe you could talk to them about Evaldi. I got to look at that contract. I don't have enough time now, and he's hurt right now, anyways. So
he's always hurt. Yeah.
So I think he's hurt.
All right. But here's the quick deal. The trade deadline is 6 p.m. Eastern on Monday. I am going to attempt to go live at 5 o'clock when I finish work and try to be live for an hour as the deadline ticks down. So join me for that. And then tomorrow on Tuesday's show, we'll cover all the trade deadline, including Guardians and all of the other AL Central moves.
Thank you all for joining us, and go Guardians go. We got you covered no matter what.